Liqiang and Swiss President Viola Amherd seek to enhance collaboration ahead of the World Economic Forum in Davos. China maintains dominance in the global shipbuilding market with remarkable growth in output and new orders. Significant progress has been made in the construction of the Ring of Lingang Glory, a landmark project in Shanghai's Lingang Free Trade Zone. Welcome to this edition of Global Business. I'm Xia Vandenberg in Beijing. Chinese Premier Li Qiang has arrived in Switzerland for an official visit. He'll also attend the World Economic Forum. Swiss President Viola Amherd welcomed him at the airport. Li said Switzerland was one of the first Western countries to recognize the People's Republic of China. He said China is willing to deepen mutual political trust and cooperation for more practical results. The Chinese premier said China attaches great importance to Switzerland's unique role in Europe and the international stage. He said China is willing to work with Switzerland to jointly address global challenges. China and Switzerland agreed to support the early launch of formal negotiations for the upgrade of the free trade agreement. That was announced by the two countries on Monday during talks between Chinese Premier Li Qiang and President of the Swiss Confederation Viola Amherd. The negotiations came after the completion of a joint feasibility study. In addition to the FTA upgrade negotiations, the two countries will also hold a new round of strategic dialogue at foreign minister level working group meetings on finance and energy, education policy dialogue, as well as consultations on UN Security Council affairs within this year. On top of that, China also announced it will apply unilateral visa-free policy to Switzerland. In exchange, Switzerland will provide more visa facilitation for its Chinese citizens and companies investing in Switzerland. Economic cooperation between China and Switzerland accelerated after the free trade agreement came into effect in 2014. China is currently Switzerland's largest trading partner in Asia, while Switzerland is China's sixth largest trading partner in Europe. Data from the Customs Authority shows that bilateral trade increased by 6% to $54 billion in the first 11 months of 2023 compared with a year ago. Breaking down the numbers, China's imports from Switzerland surged about 12% to $49 billion, while exports to Switzerland dropped from $7 billion to $5 billion. By the end of June 2023, China has paid $14 billion for technology transfers from Switzerland in about 2,600 projects. In the meantime, cultural exchanges between the two countries have solidified in recent years. Since 1980, 20 Chinese provinces and cities have been paired with Swiss counterparts. In terms of tourism, in January 2023, China resumed outbound group travel to 20 countries, including Switzerland, in a pivotal trial. The 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum kicks off today in the town of Davos, Switzerland. Under the theme Rebuilding Trust, the week-long meeting aims to restore collective agency, reinforce transparency, and construct dialogue between global leaders from government, business, and civil society. Our special coverage of the Davos meeting will explore how the world economies can reconstruct trust amid challenges. On Tuesday, Chinese Premier Li Qiang is scheduled to give a speech at the Davos Forum. Here's what young attendees expect to hear.
We are a group of 7 women representing Brazil, and we are looking forward to look at themes that will affect the Global South, mainly longevity, new work models, and also like how we can help each other in terms of collaboration.
So a stable China, a prosperous China, it's essential for the world, and I think he needs to reassure the whole world that the government of China is trying to do its best in order to have this stable economy for the whole world from China.
I think China's been very strategic in thinking about where it's had its presence and where it's building its presence. We're seeing quite a lot of expansion in parts of Africa, a lot of agreements in mining and industrials, and we're also seeing a lot of agreements in telecoms as well. So, for instance, in Saudi Arabia, Huawei, I know, has significant presence there, and Huawei Cloud. So we're going to see a lot more announcements in that regard.
Now, for more on the latest on the ground, our Guan Xing joins us live in Davos. Hi there, Guan Xing. So you have talked to several delegates. What's the mood like in Davos?
Thanks, Michelle. Yes, it's about 2 p.m. local time, and small town of Davos is bustling, and delegates have started to arrive here, and there are high expectations for this year's event. It brings about 3,000 leaders from around the world, including 60 heads of states, and they are going to focus on critical issues, including climate change, security, and geopolitical tensions, and there are mixed feelings about the economic outlook. Some are more bullish as they're seeing there are numerous opportunities where are going to be unleashed with rapidly evolving technology, especially the artificial intelligence. And there is also a certain level of caution because people are seeing the economy slowing further, as indicated in the World Bank's latest economic forecast, down to 2.4% from 2.6% last year. And there is also some degree of caution as implied by this year's theme, Building Trust, which seems to indicate there is a trust deficit or an erosion of trust. And the World Economic Forum acknowledges that we're living in increasingly fractured and polarized world, and urgent action needed to foster trust building. And this morning, I interviewed Mirek Dusak, the managing director of World Economic Forum. I asked him about how much trust deficit are there and what can be done, and how will the WEF manage to foster trust building. And let's take a listen.
Gathered here with 3,000 leaders from around the world, from all walks of life, under the theme Rebuilding Trust, which is a direct response to the erosion of trust that is evident in societies, among nations, that some would link directly to the many transformations that are quite deep and interconnected, be they geopolitical, geoeconomic, technological, or related to climate and nature. If you look at the different pollings that are out there, you see that there are different generations are looking at things differently. They have different priorities. And finally, of course, it's different economies and nations. So how do we make sure that we have the right economies and decision makers from those countries at the table? Really, dialogue is going to be at the core of the meeting this week. We are making a contribution by providing this dialogue to leaders from around the world. To mention, we do have a record number of leaders joining us here this week. Of course, we are very happy that the Premier of China is coming. There's over 60 heads of state and government joining us this week.
Well, you mentioned the Chinese delegation. What role do you expect China to play or contribute to the dialogues and initiatives at the Davos meetings, and how does WEF plan to promote collaborative and constructive dialogues with China?
We all know what a major contribution China has been making to the global economy, to global growth, post-COVID. A huge focus on recovery globally, but also, of course, for the global recovery, China is of critical importance. We are seeing, according to many analysts, that China will meet its goal of 5% GDP growth for 2023. So how does then China navigate the uncertainties around global trade this year, given also how important trade is for China's growth? And I'm sure there will be other aspects of the speech that the Premier will have here on Tuesday morning, and I'm quite sure it will be really watched very attentively around the world.
Against a rapidly evolving technology landscape, what role does the Web see the technology global governance has for its responsible use in the future, and how to build trust in the digital age?
We are, of course, zeroing in on AI specifically this year. We are at a critical time in terms of how the interplay between AI specifically and technology and society will be shaped going forward. We have seen there has been a lot of action, a lot of implementation of particularly Gen AI tools in business, including, of course, among Chinese companies. Of course, there will also be a discussion on those foundational language models and what are the latest developments, because this field continues to scientifically gallop forward, and we will have a record number of AI researchers here, including from China, that are going to be just sharing what is happening in terms of the next frontier for these models. We've also seen that different countries have been introducing either legislative measures or executive measures that are trying to figure out how to regulate this technology in a way that is safe. And the final aspect of AI is also around the power it yields and how technology has become a powerful tool, and how do we wield it.
Near-term global economic development continues to face headwinds, according to the latest chief economist's outlook released on Monday. More than half of chief economists surveyed by the World Economic Forum expect the global economy to weaken this year, citing geopolitical tensions and deeper fragmentation closely related to the country's competing industrial policies. On a regional level, economists continue to see the most buoyant economic activity in the economies of Asia, with almost 70% of economists expecting moderate growth for China. That number was 23% and 56% respectively for Europe and America. During an exclusive interview with CGTN, Klaus Schwab, chairman of the World Economic Forum, said the world is looking forward to hearing more about China's economic policies and prospects.
And also a high-profile Chinese delegation participate in this year's annual meeting. What do you think is the significance of that?
No, I think it's very, very important. The participation of Premier Li Qiang could exactly be placed into this framework of rebuilding trust, because, as you know, there are many doubts at the moment whether China really could master all those challenges, or is at the beginning of a fast slowing down phase of its economic growth. So to hear Premier Li Qiang speaking about the prospects of Chinese economy and the role China will play inside the global economy, I think can restore and rebuild to a large extent not only growth into China, but growth into our global system.
Kim Hui-Neo, Managing Director of the World Economic Forum, also expressed her confidence on China's contribution in addressing global issues and challenges, and said the forum serves as a platform for open dialogue among stakeholders.
We're very much looking forward to welcome Chinese Premier Li Qiang as well as the Chinese delegation to Davos. China is one of the largest economies, is the largest global trading nation, fastest growing, very large population, and I think we stand a much better chance of addressing global problems and challenges with China's active engagement. And we know that with the current climate and environmental crisis, we need to rethink production consumption models. Just give an example, right now, in terms of resource use, we are consuming and borrowing from the future. 1.75 times more Earth's resources, and we need to really rethink and innovate on the economies of the future. to be more aligned with planetary boundaries, as the scientists would advise all of us, right? And this scope for innovation in policy, scope for innovation in technology, innovation in solutions, business models, is something that we hope and we believe that China will be able to actively contribute to, right? And be part of the solution process.
You're watching Global Business, still to come. China retains the top position in global shipbuilding market with strong expansion in output, new orders, and orders on hand in the past year.
Every January, global leaders from the realms of policy, business, and civil society gather in the Swiss ski town of Davos to discuss the state of the world. The World Economic Forum 2024 is placing its focus on rebuilding trust. CGTN will be on the ground in Davos, reporting the latest insights and perspectives, and ensuring that China's voice is also heard. Stay tuned for this exclusive coverage, the World Economic Forum 2024, only on CGTN.
Nauru says it's severing its so-called diplomatic relations with Taiwan as of Monday and recognizing the People's Republic of China. The government of Nauru says it will move to the One China principle in line with UN Resolution 2758, which recognized the PRC as the sole legal government representing the whole of China. It says it will recognize Taiwan as an inseparable part of China's territory and no longer develop any official relations or exchanges with the region. The government says this marks a significant first step in moving forward with Nauru's development and is in the best interest of the nation and its people. 10 countries have severed so-called diplomatic ties with Taiwan since the Democratic Progressive Party's Tsai Ing-wen became the region's leader in 2016. China's foreign ministry has welcomed Nauru's decision. It says that the decision demonstrates once again that the One China principle is in accord with the trend of the times, and says China is willing to open a new chapter in bilateral relations with Nauru on the basis of the One China principle. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi continues his tour of Africa, visiting Egypt, Tunisia, Togo, and Côte d'Ivoire. China's foreign minister traditionally begins the new year with a visit to countries in Africa. Egypt was his first stop, where he signed an exclusive executive 5-year plan for the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries. During talks with Egyptian Foreign Minister, Wang Yi expressed concerns over the rising tensions in the Red Sea. He said there should be an end to the harassment of civilian vessels there. Wang Yi also met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and he discussed regional cooperation in emerging crisis with the Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abdul Gahet. China's economic cooperation with the entire Africa continued to strengthen last year. Trade between the two sides maintained growth of 1.5% in US dollar terms, despite weakening demand globally. China's outbound investment in infrastructure construction in the African continent also increased steadily in the first half of 2023, while the full-year data has yet to be released. China remained the world's leading shipbuilder last year, with all 3 major indices, the annual completed new shipbuilding orders and outstanding orders, taking the top spots globally and for 14 consecutive years. Chinese shipbuilders received over 66% of new orders worldwide in 2023. They also took up around half of global market share with competition and outstanding orders. China's shipbuilding industry has gained momentum, with its output and orders ranked first in the world for 14 consecutive years. An industrial expert says the entire shipbuilding industrial chain has been improved, creating a new unique advantage. Take a listen.
The Chinese shipbuilding industry is now gaining momentum in the global development, reflecting our strength in shipbuilding. Our shipbuilding industry has attracted global attention with its strong and complete industrial chain, which is also our unique advantage. This is not only due to progress in shipbuilding techniques, but also that of the entire industrial chain.
The construction of a future landmark in Shanghai's Lingang Free Trade Zone has witnessed a significant breakthrough. Chen Tong has more.
The ring-shaped structure is named the Ring of Lingang Glory and is designed to become the future landmark in Shanghai's Lingang Free Trade Zone. The topping out ceremony for the ring was held on Monday. With the last piece of the arc being connected to the remaining parts, the ring shape is complete.
The entire process will take about 3 days. After closure, we will unload the construction machines and complete the structure construction before the Spring Festival. We plan to install the curtain wall after the holiday.
Located an hour and a half drive from Shanghai city center, the Glory Ring is the component of the Dishui Lake Financial Bay in the Lingang Free Trade Zone. The first phase of the bay began construction in 2020 and is expected to be operational by the end of this year.
The section here is designed to become another Lujiazui in Shanghai because Lingang is determined to reach a GDP of 1 trillion yuan by 2035. Establishing a financial hub is top priority.
The Dishui Lake Financial Bay is still under construction, but it has a very ambitious plan. It hopes to attract over 800 financial institutions and investment companies in the future, with the annual financing value reaching over 30%. In addition to the hardware constructions, Lingang is also enhancing the construction of a precious metal warehouse and establishing a cross-border renminbi usage platform to attract more financial firms. Chen Tong, CGTN, Shanghai.
The People's Bank of China decided on Monday to keep the one-year medium lending term rate, MLF, unchanged. The move resulted in a net 216 billion yuan, or about $30 billion fresh injection into the banking system. Changes in the MLF rate are often seen as precursor to adjustments to the LPR, the country's benchmark lending rate. China's central bank said on its website over the weekend that it had met with several prominent economists in the country to discuss how to make it more effective for monetary policy to be transmitted to the real economy. Now let's get a check on some other corporate news from around the world. Chinese electric automaker BYD has held talks with Brazil's Sigma Lithium over a possible supply agreement, joint venture, or acquisition, according to the Financial Times. U.S. parcel delivery giant FedEx says it hasn't seen much of a shift to air freight despite Houthi attacks on container ships in the Red Sea, forcing some retailers to seek transportation alternatives. The Tokyo Stock Exchange on Monday released a list of companies that have responded to a call to disclose plans to improve capital efficiency. According to the board, 40% of the listed companies on the exchange's prime section have publicly disclosed plans, while another 9% are considering such measures. This week, Argentina posted a 25.5% inflation rate in December and ended 2023 with an annual inflation rate of 211%, the highest seen since the early 1990s, according to the government's Index Statistics Agency. The spike in prices comes after just 1 month of Javier Milei's presidency. Joel Richards reports from Buenos Aires.
Social media has become a vehicle for shop owner Claudio Paez to share his frustration at soaring prices in Argentina.
The whole year has been a chaos, but December was the worst. Milei took office on December 10th. The 11th was calm. On the 12th, we received brutal increases from companies that increased the prices of their products, as we showed here, by 40, 50 or 60%.
The cost of food has increased faster than the country's average rate of inflation, which for December alone reached 25.5%, up from 12.8% in November. Argentina has not seen such high levels of inflation since 1990, a period of hyperinflation. And with the latest official figures, Argentina has overtaken Venezuela as the country with the highest level of inflation in Latin America. The annual increase in prices in the region's third largest economy has now reached 211.4%. These are the first inflation figures since Javier Milei began his presidency 1 month ago. From day one, the Libertarian promised shock economic therapy. His government has removed price controls. In the first week in office, Milei devalued the peso by 54%.
The devaluation of the official exchange rate has a major impact because it directly affects prices.
This chamber represents small and medium-sized companies. It reported a 13% fall in sales in December, compounding a miserable year.
It is a very significant drop compared to what we had been seeing. But though the year, all 12 months, saw a fall, there was not one single positive month.
Protests are increasingly frequent in the country. Milei is looking to push forward with an ambitious and unprecedented deregulation bill.
Repito, no negociamos.
The government spokesperson says they will not negotiate their policies and admitted inflation will remain in the double digits in the coming months. In the face of rising prices, shop owners like Paez look for ways to keep attracting customers whose purchasing power decreases by the month. Joel Richards, CGTN, Buenos Aires.
Moving on to some other headlines we're tracking at this hour. Thailand's central bank said on Monday that uneven economic recovery cannot be fixed only by adjusting interest rates, hitting back at government calls to ease monetary policy to help revive sluggish activity. Data from Indonesia's Statistics Bureau showed that the trade surplus fell almost a third in 2023 from a year earlier as exports and imports dropped amid falling commodity prices and weakening global trade. Indonesia aims to produce 710 million metric tons of coal in 2024, its mining minister said on Monday. Last year, coal output hit a record 775 million tons, exceeding the 695 million ton target. And that will do it for this edition of Global Business. I'm Jia Vandenberg in Beijing. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.